elected officials and put them together with the utility managers and have them think a renewable energy solution so that everybody can have photovoltaics on their roof.
Well, so I would push back and say, like, that's not a design thinking problem because you already have a solution in mind. So then it's a technical problem of how we integrate that. Now, if we say, like, how do we empower our citizens to think more about renewable energy? Well, then there's a lot of solutions there, and maybe it's not photovoltaic. Maybe it's reduction, or maybe it's not reduction at all. Maybe it's like looking at new technologies or investing in that. Now, as far as getting the government resources involved, the governor, and he's mentioned it several times, and this is what's brought me to be able to work with him, is extraordinarily interested in this process and has pushed the university to integrate it heavily into their system. And so we've done a lot of training, and on Oahu, there's a bigger movement. So this is Design Thinking Hawaii. There's like no one on the Big Island, but me. There's like one person over at UH-Hilo. They're wonderful. I don't know too much about it really. Like, but they've been to the trainings, I guess. Like they're working on it over in Hilo, and hopefully they can get moving along as well. But over in Oahu, like Pat Sullivan has put a lot of money into it. Public School of Hawaii Foundation has put a lot of money into it, and it has a lot of government support. And they're doing things with, councils and boards and stuff like that. On the Big Island, not too much, but I've talked to some of the council members about the process. But across the nation, there have been a lot of like, hey, let's bring some designers in to relook at this. One of, when I was at the D school last, the comptroller for California, who was an alumni of the design school at Stanford, had come back to bring his team because he wanted to redesign the way that California did accountability systems. And they've done really cool stuff in a year, but they had to train a lot of their staff because like people that work in comptrollers' offices a lot of times don't naturally think this way, but they have a lot of skill sets that when you bring them into the solution space can be super powerful. I don't know if that answers your question. Okay. Yes, sir.
Back in the 60s, I was working extensively in technology research in California, and our laboratory technical director taught me something which has been very important to me for the last 50 years. He said, if you're doing your job right, you're going to occasionally fall flat on your face. But that's okay, because that means at least you're falling in a forward direction. And the trick is to get back on your feet, look around all the pieces of your pet project, and say, if I can put them together in a slightly different way, maybe they'll work next time. Mm-hmm. So don't be afraid of failure.
Yeah, I definitely think that the students have been like completely trained in this fear phobia of failure, which is like not how it works at all. Like my background is a jazz musician, and like if you're gonna be a jazz musician, you're gonna have to really explore things that aren't the right or perfect notes. And I think anyone that works in improv like understands that like the idea of failure isn't what we think about. Like I never thought like this is a failure solo. Like, oh no, there's like I tried something out, maybe there's some ideas and I'll reflect on it, and maybe I want to do some other things and I'll change my technical chops. But it's about going after problems, and I think that students nowadays really have been conditioned to like have this phobia of failure, which prevents them from like finding anything creative, right? Like there's the classic Henry Ford thing that his worker was like $1 million mistake. He had a design team, and the head of the project had $1 million mistake, and everyone went to Henry Ford and he was like, "Oh, you're gonna fire the guy?" And he's like, "Why would I ever fire him? That's the most expensive. He's never gonna make that mistake again. Like this is the most valuable employee I have, right? Because like you can learn so much from that if you don't look at your problems in a linear way and you see like they're cyclical constantly. Every problem is cyclical, and all of our textbooks are almost purely linear, and so obviously that ruins a lot of the exposure to that."
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. So I'll send this out. Oh, I have gifts. And by gifts, I mean paper. But if you are interested in trying out some of these processes, I have a bunch of activities that we use. And I did a space saturation thing, which is a space exploration, particularly for the D school. So if you ever go up there, you can use this sheet. But also, if you don't go up there, like you can use this sheet to just evaluate how you do and interact in spaces. So if you're interested in one of these, I will leave them here, and I'm looking forward to reading all of your ideas. So thank you guys so much. Yep.
All right, thanks a lot, Justin. And please feel free to stick around and
have some drinks and poo-poos, and next time, Moon Rovers.
Maybe you propose to